I don't know why I even want to keep this record. No one will see or hear it. After all, I'm in a spaceship headed for another planet a million miles from home. Why did I do this? Why didn't I see it coming? I can't help thinking cooped up in this little room. How does a master codebreaker make such a mistake? Well, I remember it all started with a radio and television broadcast from the United Nations.
How space aliens arrived? Are they friendly? Are they hostile? Who is meeting them? Mr. Secretary, how
May I have your attention, please? Ladies and gentlemen, could I have it quiet, please? I have a prepared statement, and I'd like to read it now. May I please read it now? May I have it quiet? May I have your attention, please? Ladies and gentlemen, I should like to recapitulate the events of the last 11 days. On the 14th of March, shortwave broadcasts were received in the main capitals around the world. These messages very obviously did not originate from Earth. This has been scientifically attested to. Rather, they came from an extraterrestrial race known as the Cannabits. These first messages were somewhat cryptic, merely stating that there would be multiple landings around the world. We were furthermore told that these landings would be peaceable and that we should not take alarm. These broadcasts continued over the past several days, each growing somewhat stronger than its predecessor. At 11 o'clock this morning, Eastern Standard Time, the first of these landings took place in an area just outside of Newark, New Jersey. We have subsequently had reports of other landings in the Soviet Union, Norway, Canada, and in areas around London, and several others. As of this moment, we have not seen the occupants of the crafts that have landed. Speaking on behalf of the United Nations, I can tell you only this, that at this moment it would be premature to assume hostile intent on the parts of those Cannabits. So, it is the position of the United Nations that the population remain calm, to make no hostile moves, to keep in mind that the governments are being apprised of the events as they happen and have the situation well in hand.
What do they look like? Why are they coming? Who are they? We know where they look like.
Please, ladies and gentlemen, please. As of this moment, we do not know what they look like or who they are. What we know only is that several of the crafts have landed at...
What's going on? What's happening?
It seems that one of the crafts has landed a few blocks away.
What?
One of the representatives is on his way to the building. The Cannabit will be here presently. He has requested an audience with this organization. So, for the moment, I would ask you again to remain calm. One of our visitors will shortly make himself known.
I remember watching on TV and suddenly this being appeared, vast, all-enveloping, and his face, while humanoid in general appearance, looked as if someone had been sculpting it and didn't quite finish the job. When the creature spoke, the face remained immobile, and the voice had a tinny recorded quality. It looked slowly around the room, and held up a right hand in a traditional gesture of peace. He carried a small book open in his hand with some strange hieroglyphics on it. He kept referring to it.
Ladies and gentlemen of the earth, we greet you in peace and friendship. We come from a planet far beyond the known universe, a planet far more developed than Earth, but we come as friends. Our intentions are honorable. We desire above all things to help the people of Earth, to establish embassies here, and in the near future, to set up reciprocal visits between Earth people and Cannabits.
Speaking on behalf of the governments of the people of Earth, we bid you welcome. You have a name?
Not in the accepted sense. so you need not make reference to me by name, but feel free to ask me any questions at all, of any nature.
We have many questions, but for the moment I think are most interested in first, how you discovered us, how you know our language, and the nature of your planet, its political and social makeup.
First of all, we must make the following admission. We do not know your language, and further, our own methods of communication are mental rather than verbal. Hence, the voice you hear me speaking with is totally mechanical. Your words, or rather your thoughts, are fed into an automatic translator, and my responses are in turn electronically altered to simulate those vocal sounds and language known to you.
You cannot speak?
Speak. Not in the sense that you Earth people can speak, but as to the other questions, our planet is not known to you astronomically. It lies far beyond your knowledgeable universe, but it is a technological, highly advanced planet. Its political and social makeup is highly complex, and I cannot describe it to you without first educating you in some of the basics of our mores and habits.
Would you be willing to be interrogated here at our United Nations in a special session, at which time all our nation's representatives could make inquiries of you?
I would be delighted.
Members of the General Assembly, our visitors, the Cannabits, have graciously acceded to our request that they appear in front of us and answer any questions. We felt it would be more practical to televise the representatives in order to facilitate the questioning. This meeting is hereby called to order and the questioning will proceed. I acknowledge the representative of the United Kingdom.
Precisely, why have you chosen our planet to visit?
It has come to our attention that Earth has been plagued by both natural and unnatural catastrophes, all of which could easily be acted upon and prevented. We are here to help you.
I acknowledge the representative of Canada.
My government wishes me to ask you the nature of your help. What form will it take? Indeed, if we should prefer not to avail ourselves to these various aids you mentioned, what would your response be?
We will not force anything on you. You will take only that which you choose to take. For example, tomorrow that is, we will demonstrate to all interested parties a new and extremely interesting power source, which is atomic in nature and which can supply a form of electric power to entire countries for the cost of a few dollars, or rubles, or pesos, or what have you. It's extremely economical.
I acknowledge the representative of the Soviet Union.
Ure! The people of the Soviet Union should like to ask the Cannabits precisely what are its motives in coming here quite uninvited? Are we to assume that your purposes are so totally altruistic that you have a singular and abiding interest in helping others? And may we further assume there is nothing ulterior in these motives beyond this vast humanity that you have mentioned?
There is nothing ulterior in our motives, nothing at all. You will discover this for yourself before too long, simply by testing the various devices which we will make available to you. We can show you, for example, how to add nitrate to the soil and end famine on Earth for good and all. We can demonstrate to you quite practically the principles of the force field, in which you may cloak each nation with an invisible wall, absolutely impenetrable by bombs, missiles, or anything else. We ask only that you trust us. There is nothing ulterior in our motives.
I remember after working on translating the odd hieroglyphics, the colonel came to see me. He kept referring to the book the Cannabit apparently forgot when he left the United Nations building.
Okay.
Well, Chambers, what have you got?
A corker of a migraine and eye strain.
I can't lick it, huh?
Well, not in 8 hours. I mean, Colonel, it took us almost a year to crack the Japanese code, and I had an army of people working on that one. This is a language from people from outer space. Probably 500 times more intelligent than we are, and 1,000 times more complex.
So you're gonna need help.
Oh, all donations gratefully accepted. I mean, I showed this stuff to every man and woman on our staff, and I've had a dozen people working on it since late last night. You know, we tried everything that we could think of. Single transposition, double transposition. You know, we tried every known method of cryptography that we could think of. But I don't know if we're getting closer or if we're a million miles away still.
So you can't decipher it.
Oh, we can keep trying. I mean, you know, standard, direct, reverse, symmetrical mixed, keyword mixed, random mixed, reciprocal conjugate, you know, every nature of sequence of letters that we can come up with. But I'm going to tell you something right now, Colonel. This is a tough nut. It's a real tough nut.
I don't know. This Cannabit, or whatever he calls himself, ever since he left that book, the White House seems to think if we can decipher the book, we can decipher the Cannabits themselves.
Well, do they need deciphering? I mean, come on. You know, that soil that they did the demonstration of the nitrate device down in Argentina this morning has more vitamins in it now than a drugstore chain. I know that area. That's the most barren and desolate area on the face of the planet. And now there's weeds growing there 6 hours after they used the nitrate device. You know, we may lick this, or we may not, but you know, I got a feeling.
That?
Well, that we're looking a gift horse in the mouth. I got another funny feeling too.
And that is?
Well, if these Cannabits are as friendly as I think they are, you're going to be out of a job, and probably so will I. Most likely the entire UN. You know, there'll be no need for armies, navies, air force, security divisions, or world courts. They'll be obsolete.
So am I to assume, Chambers, that this is a scientific analysis or just some Kentucky windage?
I don't know what to call it, Colonel. Let's just call it an instinctive feeling. And this instinctive feeling tells me that when the whole world's got enough to eat, when famine, disease, and war are eliminated, this whole planet's going to be a Garden of Eden from pole to pole.
Well, your optimism is refreshing, Mr. Chambers, but for now I'd like you to continue the deciphering of this language or code or whatever it is until we know exactly, and I mean exactly, what the bloody book says.
Okay. Oh, what is it, Pat? Oh, Colonel. This is Pat. She's our top-notch code analyst.
Well, we've cracked the title of it anyway.
And what does it say?
To serve man.
Well, that makes the cheese a bit more binding there, doesn't it, Colonel? Wow. Our visitor's little book, To Serve Man. Well, that's as altruistic as a phrase as I've ever heard, don't you think, Pat?
I'd like to believe it, but I really don't know what to think.
To serve man. To serve man. I hope so. I sincerely hope so.
Hopes. I had them. I wanted it all to be true. Altruistic. Well, time went on and the UN scientists came up with that brilliant idea of using a lie detector on the Cannabit. They never conceived that to an advanced alien, controlling the machine's response could be child's play.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The purpose of this meeting is to acquaint you with certain tests conducted over the past week. At the requests of several delegates and the full consent of our guest, the Cannabit, these tests were recorded, and you will now hear a full report from our chief scientist.
standard instruments for testing the truth of a statement. Our first object, since the physiology of the cannabis is unknown to us, was to determine whether or not they react to these tests as human beings do. We will now repeat one of the many experiments which are made in an endeavor to discover this. This shows the electrical conductivity of the skin in the palm of the hand, a measure of perspiration which increases under stress. And this shows the pattern and intensity of the electrical wave emanations to the brain. It has been shown with human subjects that all these readings may vary depending upon whether the subject is speaking the truth. Many such experiments were made, and my colleagues and myself are satisfied that the mechanisms are effective. Now, I shall ask our distinguished guest to reply to the question put at the last session by several delegates, namely, what is the motive for the Cannabit people in offering these great gifts to the people of Earth?
On my planet, there is a saying, there are more riddles in a stone than in the philosopher's head. The motives of intelligent beings, though they may at times appear obscure, are simple things compared to the complex workings of the natural universe. Therefore, I hope that the people of Earth will understand and believe when I tell you that our mission upon this planet is simply this: to bring you the peace and plenty which we ourselves enjoy, which we have in the past brought to other races throughout the galaxy. When your world has no more hunger, no more war, no more needless suffering, that will be our reward.
As you can see, the machine indicates that our guest is telling the truth.
I should like to pose, whom promoted that circus?
These tests are quite genuine.
Cirque promotes Glaxnine farce, a circus, a second-rate farce. If they were genuine, Mr. Secretary, why was any debate stifled?
There will be time for further debates tomorrow, the next day, all of next week. We're not stifling debate.
I would remind the delegates from the Soviet Union that everything that Cannabit has promised has not only worked, but worked beyond our hopeful expectations. The force field that was tested yesterday, a firecracker couldn't get through. And we suddenly find ourselves in a strange millennium where none of us need to fear the hydrogen bomb or a missile. We are on the threshold of peace, people. Peace as we've never known it.
As we've never known it. Still. Anyway, I remember my last conversation with Pat, ever. How ironic. We thought we knew the way things really were. What a joke. What a sick joke.
I'm going home, boss.
Have you read the headlines? Fertility of arable land increased 100%. Famine a thing of the past. Heart disease and cancer cure guaranteed by cannabis injection. No more war, as tests prove the effectiveness of a force field.
You need me for anything else?
It's not a flurry of activity here.
This is the new story of man. Nobody needs to decipher much of anything anymore because there aren't any more codes, simply because there aren't any more secret messages. No more bombs, or war scares, or insurrections, or anything like that anymore. And there's a rumor going around that they're going to disband the United Nations inside of a month.
A month?
Or close to it. How many of them are there now? Has anyone figured it out?
You know, I'd estimate about 1,000. And for every one of them that comes here, 1,000 of us go there. It is a strange, complex sanity of man, I'll tell you what. You know, one day, we're marveling at the fact that a man is circling the earth in this rinky-dink cubicle, and we think it's the most amazing thing in the universe. A couple of weeks later, we're standing in line to go 1,000,000 miles to another planet like it's going to another picnic in the country. You know, the strange and complex sanity of man. Nothing phases us.
Do you plan on going?
Oh, I'm on their 10-year exchange program. How about you, Pat?
I'm on the list too. Trouble is, the quota's filled within 24 hours after they've made an announcement of a new trip. But in the meantime, I think I'll do the next best thing. I've been studying the language, and I remember a professor once told me that a language reflects the basis assumptions of the people who use it. I have a pretty fair command of their spoken lingo already. It's not hard, really. There are some hints in it, and some of their idioms are quite similar to English. I think I'll get the answer, eventually.
I gave up a month ago. Their ideograms are worse than the Chinese. But if there's anything I can do to help you. Did I say something?
If you could help me, that was the phrase, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The only thing you can help me with,
Is what?
help me get rid of this strange feeling inside. This very odd, persistent, nightmarish feeling.
Nightmarish.
That's right. Call it woman's intuition, if you will.
That tells you what?
That maybe we've looked this gift horse in the mouth too soon.
A gift horse. Too soon? Or not soon enough? My turn to go to the Cannabit world finally came up, and I stood in line waiting to board the ship.
They say that on their planet the sun never goes down.
And their clothing, it's a silver metallic substance, and they take you on a conducted tour of their shops and you can pick out all the clothes you want.
And they have a kind of a game like baseball. I don't think I'm going to want to come back once I get there. And the trip, mind you, it's 1,000,000 miles away, and it takes only a few days.
Oh, we're moving! Isn't this exciting?
Chambers! Chambers!
Oh, you're just in time to say goodbye.
I know. Can you get out of this? Can you refuse to go?
Are you kidding? I waited 6 weeks for this, and be quiet, or else there'll be a riot while they decide who takes my place. What's wrong? What's going on?
I finally deciphered their language. I read their book. All of it.
Move ahead. You're holding up our departure. Kindly move ahead.
Well?
Chambers, the first page is simply a collection of English words in their own translation. But the rest of the book,
Ahead, please. Through the doors. You're holding
Write me
up
a
our
letter about it.
departure.
I'll read it later because I'm going here for a rest and vacation anyway.
Chambers, the rest of the book, to serve man. It's a cookbook!
A cookbook. I tried to get away, but the camera grabbed me, just like they'd held in an iron vise. He shoved me into the ship and the exit closed. Stunned, I was led into this cubicle, and here I've been ever since. They keep trying to make me eat, but I won't. Provisions for a race of lying, cheating monsters. I wonder what happened to Pat. We seem to be slowing. What a gift horse.
I will not be a fatted calf!